Right, this is a Sestina, which is basically a form of poetry with its own set of rules. If you want to look it up on Google, it's spelled Sestina. And yeah, Google it. If you're into creative writing and stuff like that, it's a good exercise, you know. And I've written it about my angioplasty procedure, which I had last year, and that's basically having a stent fitted, which for a guy in his sort of went into his 60s is not such a big deal, you know. There must have been about 10 other people on the ward as well, having that or a similar procedure, as in having their pacemaker batteries replaced and that, you know. And one of the guys who was having his pacemaker batteries replaced, they'd done it and they wheeled him back in, and I was lying there post procedure, and as I was lying there, I watched this fucking everything went a bit tits up, you know, and I reckon there must have been about 10, 12 nurses and doctors at one point, all around this geezer's bed, like pulled the curtains round. They got 2 or 3 different kinds of machines out, and yeah, it was touch and go, you know, and I was thinking, fuck, he's gonna die, you know, because they don't tell you nothing, because it's all confidential and that, and. Anyway, he pulled through, thankfully, and hopefully he's all right now. And yeah, so I wrote this Sestina about it, and I've called it Angioplasty. Entering a radial artery in a man's wrist, a thin wire, a stent, and a tiny balloon travelled through a catheter to a blocked coronary artery, whereat the balloon was briefly inflated, deflated and removed along with the wire, the stent having been opened and left in the artery, thus ending the procedure, after which the man was placed in post-procedure recovery. The wound on his wrist where the stent began its journey now TR banded, lest it be opened. Presumably this was fitted after the catheter, having served its purpose, was finally removed following extraction of the thin wire and tiny balloon. The surgeon who'd inflated and deflated the tiny balloon in the man's coronary artery during the procedure bade good morning to another, a surgeon who removed and replaced old pacemaker batteries. Fitting a stent seems minor by comparison, although the catheter used isn't as long, and once the old scar's been opened, replacement is relatively simple. The freshly opened scar very rarely gets infected, and instead of a balloon, a new battery is sent through a shorter catheter in order to replace the old battery. The whole procedure taking roughly the same time it takes to have a stent fitted. Supposedly, the old battery can easily be removed, and yet a patient in a bed opposite was nearly removed to intensive care because after the patient's opened wound was stitched, the man with the newly fitted stent concernedly observed events appearing to balloon out of control post-battery replacement procedure, necessitating the insertion of a new catheter into the patient's wrist, hence mirroring the catheter insertion performed prior to it being removed upon completion of the previous procedure, involving the invasive insertion of a stent into a coronary artery, succeeded by a balloon exiting the coronary artery successfully opened during the minor procedure, whereupon the radial artery opened in order to allow the catheter to be inserted and removed was dual compression balloons sealed as lifeblood flowed through the stent.